Hi, Senator Leyva. So we can start, Ms. Jones, right? We have 6 now?
Yeah, that is correct.
Great. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. We're calling the meeting of the State Allocation Board to order. And we will begin by establishing the quorum. Ms. Jones, will you call the roll?
I sure will. Senator Wilk, Senator Leyva. You're here. I see
Sorry.
you.
I had to go get
Okay.
my notes off the printer.
Senator Roth,
Sure.
Assemblymember O'Donnell,
Here.
Assemblymember Cunningham, Assemblymember Burke, Juan Morales,
Here.
Jeremy Smith, Ana Lasso,
Present.
Gail Miller.
Here, and I think I see Mr. Cunningham joining. Mr. Cunningham, is that you? I thought maybe Jordan CFW was Assemblymember Cunningham. Is that right, Mr. Cunningham? Okay,
Okay,
so
well, we do have a quorum.
Great, thank you, Ms. Jones. Pursuant to the Governor's Executive Order N2520 from March 12, 2020, this meeting is being conducted by way of a Zoom teleconference. The meeting is being physically webcast from room 6300 at 707 3rd Street in West Sacramento. If anyone would like to provide comment in person. In order for the meeting to run efficiently, please note that all participants will be muted during the meeting. If a board member or member of the public would like to make a comment, please use the raise hand feature, which is under reactions in your Zoom app. And if you're calling into the meeting and not using the Zoom interface, unfortunately, you will not be able to provide public comment. So we really encourage you to join via Zoom. And with that, we will go to our minutes from August 25th, 2021. Are there any public comments on the minutes? Seeing none, I will move the minutes. Do we have a second?
Second.
Great, thank you very much, Ms. Burke. And we will, any objection to a unanimous roll call for the minutes? Seeing none, the minutes are adopted. We will now move to the executive officer statement, please, Ms. Silverman.
Hi, it's great to see everyone. I hope everyone had a great break. We wanted to provide some updates related to our stakeholder meetings. So related to the California preschool and expanded transitional kindergarten that has been adopted to the full day kinder program. And again, we actually had a stakeholder meeting today. So that's great news. So that's 2 stakeholder meetings so far. So we're interested in getting more feedback from our stakeholder community. And again, this is to address the expanded program and bring forward some timelines related to our regulations and changes to our form. So we've been getting really good feedback lately. So please tune in to our next meeting, and that's October 12th. And then we also want to provide an update related to the facility inspection tool. I know we set forth an aggressive schedule and we were thinking about a September 30th meeting, but we definitely have a lot of balls in our court right now. And so just to be mindful of everyone's time and the process, we're going to be folding out announcements soon related to that facility inspection tool update and having some stakeholder input. So we anticipate that over the next few months. So by October, we'll have some announcements by the time that we have the next SAB meeting. And then the other amendments we want to alert the board, we're going to be bringing forward regulatory amendments as it relates to the extension of payments back to the program. Currently, if a district has no ability to make the payments within the 60-day time frame, which is allowed in statute, they have the ability to seek board approval for an extension of that time period. So the statute did change from a 5-year provision to a 20-year provision. So again, that provides districts more flexibility in making those repayments to our program. So we'll be bringing forward some regulation changes next month. So that's really important. And we also wanted to wrap up the priority funding apportionment certification round that closed in June. And why is that important? Because we had a bond sale this week or last week. And funds are going to be coming to our program really soon. And so we're super excited about bringing apportionments in October. So that's about $766 million that will be activated in cash as a result of that fall bond sale. So again, great news for October. And we wanted to provide the board an update on a virtual training series. We had 13 so far, and we've actually had over nearly 950 participants in this venue. So again, lots to share with our stakeholder community in these community updates. We do have an announcement. We have the grant agreement that we'll be unfolding. It's going to be a new online process, so we're super excited about that. That streamlined ability for districts to transmit this grant agreement to us electronically. I will electronically provide signatures, so a great tool will save some time with districts sharing that information with us. And again, it's going to be a real time saver and business process improvement. We're going to have that grant agreement training on October 26th at 9 o'clock. So again, look forward to our feedback. Sign up for this because it's real important, as well as the other training venues with our online portal and online grant process. Please do what you can to access this training and stay tuned with the updates with our office. And with that, our next board meeting is October 27th.
Thank you so much, Ms. Silverman, and thank you to your whole team for the incredible work you do to make sure that these online trainings happen and are well received. And we really do hope that it streamlines the process for districts, and that you really, as we'll learn even today, that you really just rely on our team at SAB to really help you through this process, because it is rare to see such a committed team making this easier. So any other questions of Ms. Silverman or public comment? Nope. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda then. Ms. Silverman?
Consent agenda is ready for your approval.
Great. Any public comments, concerns, any questions? Seeing none, may we have a motion for the consent agenda? Moved by Senator Leyva,
Second.
second by Ms. Lasso. Ms. Jones, will you call the roll, please?
Certainly will. Senator Leyva,
Aye.
Senator Roth,
Aye.
Assemblymember O'Donnell,
Aye.
Assemblymember Cunningham, Assemblymember Burke,
Aye.
Juan Morales,
Aye.
Ana Lasso,
Aye.
Gail Miller.
Aye, the consent agenda is adopted. Next, we will move on to the financial reports.
Yeah, so if I can direct your attention on page 83, we did want to provide the board an update as far as the cash has been released. So an 80.6 million has been released in August. So again, that's all proceeds related to the spring bond sale. So that's great news. We actually did allocate a lot of cash over the summer. And as part of your consent agenda, we just want to highlight there was over $43 million in projects as part of the consent agenda. So that's great news. Nothing's slowing down here, by the way. So that's all the highlights I have today.
Great. Thank you so much, Ms. Silverman. Mr. Cunningham, hi, thank you so much for joining. Do you want to vote on the consent agenda? We couldn't hear you if you tried to vote previously.
I'm going to abstain. I have an appearance of conflict to what.
Great, thank you very much. And did you want to vote on the minutes? We just did unanimous roll call. Are you okay being included in that?
Sure. I'll go aye on the minutes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
So next we have the Paradise Unified appeal. I do just want to really give a huge shout out to Ms. Kampminer, who has worked tirelessly with Mr. Taylor and the district. We obviously all have just so much gratitude to the district and everything that you've endured and overcome, and the resilience of the district, and really to Ms. Kampminer, who saw the issues in the district and has worked honestly for the past 6 months to really make sure that we could help you and make sure that you were able to execute what you needed for your students. So it's been really a pleasure, and just to like watch government work in this way. And I hope, Mr. Taylor, that you feel the same way. But anyways, I don't mean to embarrass you, Ms. Kampminer, but I wanted to make sure you also had the credit. So with that, if you want to give us the appeal and everything on the agenda today.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a lot of hands touched this from the district side and their support, and on the OPSC side. So credit there as well, but thank you. Appreciate it. Yes, so beginning on page 104 of the agenda, we do have a request from the Paradise School District related to some assistance to help them rebuild after the fires of 2018, which in a horrible and very unique circumstance, damaged or destroyed all but one of the schools in the district. And the district has been working to come up with a plan for how to rebuild, and included in your agenda today are some examples of the outline of that new master plan and what things look like once they're bringing folks back to the area and rebuilding the schools. And there are a couple asks before the board today, and I will start with the end in mind, and staff does support the requests in this appeal. And we do recommend that the board consider approving the requests. And what this will do for the district is enable them to have some additional funding and flexibility from the school facility program to assist in the rebuilding effort, because despite the insurance proceeds received, local funds available, and the potential for FEMA funding, the district is still anticipating a sizable gap between what it's going to cost to rebuild and the funding that they have available. If the board opts to approve this appeal, it's an additional $20.4 million in state funding that can be used for these purposes. There are two questions before the board today. They kind of go hand in hand. I'm actually going to start with the second one because it relates to use of modernization eligibility at sites other than where the facilities were located that originally generated this eligibility. So before the fires, the district did have several school sites that had already established modernization eligibility and had that potential funding available to them for future projects. Under the modernization program, it is actually fairly common to see what we call a like-for-like replacement project to move forward. And so instead of modernizing an existing facility, districts will tear down and rebuild new. And that is an allowable use of modernization funding. Typically that occurs on the same school site. And administratively, we at OPSC, we require that it's on the same school site. We need the board's permission if there's a plan to do something different. In the case of Paradise, the district has really been very thoughtful in how they've opted to build back in their community. And it doesn't make sense necessarily to rebuild or do a like-for-like replacement of some of these facilities in their existing locations, because the district has come up with alternate plans that bring these facilities back closer to a more centralized location, to where the families are going to be and where the need is greater. So this is, in staff's opinion, this is a very good thing for the district to have thought this through and come up with these options on how they were going to move forward. So there is an ask for several school sites to, specifically for Paradise Elementary School site, which was destroyed by the fire, to use that modernization eligibility and rebuild on what is currently called the Ponderosa Elementary School campus. And so Ponderosa's elementary school site will become the new location for the primary elementary school in the district. And then the second school is Ridgeview Continuation High School, which also was destroyed from the fire. And it would go to a new Ridgeview site, but the new site is much closer to the Paradise High School site, which brings it more centrally located and allows for some additional flexibility there. So staff does support the use of the modernization eligibility at different locations. We think this is easy. It fits within what seems reasonable within the program, and so we have no issues with this piece. The second piece of this, it relates to the actual funding of this, because it's helpful to have the modernization eligibility available at alternate sites, but without funding behind that, it doesn't do much. So the second ask is to provide for expedited processing outside the priority funding process for several applications that we currently have on our applications received beyond bond authority list. So this is not just expedited cash, but taking these projects out of order and processing them now ahead of other districts that are in line for modernization projects as well. We did take a very hard look at this, and after a lot of thoughtful consideration, we wanted to weigh the equity of this to the circumstances that Paradise was facing, because it is, taking things out of order is not something that we take lightly. However, in the facility hardship program, which is typically the program that districts can use when they're experiencing things such as fires, there are provisions that allow the application to move to the top of the list for processing. And the board has been supportive in the past when it's necessary to provide immediate apportionments for facility hardship projects. Now, these projects don't fall under the facility hardship program. They are modernization applications, but the district was in a bit of a strange spot. We don't see this very often, but the insurance proceeds eliminated the ability to use the facility hardship funding for the applications. So the district has requested funding under modernization. As we kind of touched on a few minutes ago, the modernization eligibility is there. So that, that makes sense. There's an option here. And given what the district is facing, what they have been through, and just the enormity of the situation of trying to rebuild an entire school district, we feel that the benefit of accelerating these applications outweighs the concerns with having to accelerate these projects ahead of other modernization projects in line. So we do feel that this is a very unique circumstance that warrants this consideration that we believe is within the board's ability to provide. That will allow the district to move forward with the 20.4 million in state funding, our understanding, and actually we've received some documents, so they're ready to go. So if the board is supportive today, they will be able to have cash in hand in a matter of days, as opposed to years or months, enabling them to take the opportunity to rebuild now, get the kids back in schools, take advantage of today's construction rates instead of any escalation in a few years, and help with the uncertainty of what the applications received beyond bond authority list could bring. So we do support the district's appeal request, and they are on the call today if there are any questions for them as well. And with that, I'd be happy to take questions also.
Great, thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Taylor, and before I turn to you, Mr. Morales. And Mr. Taylor, is that Mr. Sherritt there with you, the trustee? You're on mute. Do you want to just say a few words? Okay, you're good to go. Hi. Would you like to say anything, or is your audio working? We can't hear you at all.
Okay, is that better?
Yes, thank you.
I apologize.
No worries.
Okay. Yes, to my right is David McCready, Assistant Superintendent. And further to the right is Bill Sherritt, Board Member. And we know our people from the back, I believe. I'm not sure if King and Associates, no, but on the far right is Jake Tim, our Director of Maintenance. So first off, I want to say thank you. So, and I do have something that I would like to share. So good afternoon, Madam Chair and members. And I apologize if this gets a little hard for me to get through. The 2018 Camp Fire is the most destructive fire in California history in terms of lives lost and buildings destroyed. 86 people died directly as a result of the fire, and more than 18,000 structures were lost, including 14,000 homes. In one day, the town of Paradise was essentially destroyed, including 4 entire school sites and portions of 4 other school sites administered by Paradise Unified School District. But these statistics don't tell you the full story because they don't capture the trauma inflicted on the school children and the children of Paradise and their families. 3 years later, students, Paradise, and district employees still relive the events of their terrifying evacuation as they drive past the burned out remains of their former schools. But there are signs of hope, and you guys are part of this. Thank you. The people of Paradise are strong and resilient. Every step taken by Paradise Unified to rebuild tells our community, former homeowners and business communities, that Paradise is coming back. Much of this is very personal to me as a member of our community for over 50 years, and really just a representative of our community who could say much of what I'm going to. 2019, we had our graduation, which we returned to Paradise Unified, or returned to Paradise. It was the biggest event that the community had seen since the fire, since we were unable to return to our town. Students were delighted to be back, and one of those students was my daughter, who walked across the same field that I did as a graduate, along with members of our community, such as Bill Sherritt and Jake Tim. Shortly after the fire, we were in a daze. I asked my daughter, who was at that time a senior, I said, what do the kids want? She said, Dad, we need to be with our friends, we need to be with our teachers, we need to be together. Of course, it was a scramble to bring people together. We've continued to move forward in our community and in our district, and are proud to be part of it. One of the most recent things was the reopening of our rebuilt elementary school. And it's much more than just a school. It's a place where the community gathers. And our community has gathered multiple times to celebrate moving ahead. This is why we're grateful for the extensive time that OPSC and staff have dedicated to working with us, restoring the heart of our community, and their support for our requests. This all gives us hope. And this goes from the smallest of the donations or actions to this huge opportunity that you guys will be providing to us. We respect and understand OPSC's determination. We know that they have done what they can administratively, and that we must now appeal directly to the State Allocation Board. We respectfully ask the members of the State Allocation Board to approve our request for expedited apportionments outside of the priority funding process for 4 projects at Ridgeview High, Ponderosa Elementary, and Paradise High School, and the flexibility to use modernization eligibility generated at schools that have been destroyed at the schools that will now serve those same students. On behalf of Paradise Unified School District, our students, and the entire Paradise community, we thank you for your support, and once again, the hope that it gives us. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was, it's incredible to hear you talk about hope and resilience after the tragedy, and sincerely is an inspiration for me. And I think your kids have a huge amount to be proud of. So sincerely appreciate you sharing that. Thank you very much. Anybody else at Paradise USD want to share any words? We obviously all know that we can't share in your loss, but are grateful to be a small part in helping you rebuild.
I'm Bill Sherritt. Yeah, I'm Bill Sherritt, the school board member. We just want to thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sherritt. I appreciate you all being there today. Mr. Morales, did you have a question?
Not a question, ma'am. I just had a statement, if I may.
Please.
I want to thank staff for their support of this district that, again, was impacted by the most destructive wildfire in California's history. I also want to acknowledge Superintendent Taylor and Assistant Superintendent McCready for their amazing leadership during very difficult response efforts. I was very proud to work closely with them to help them. And I know that their leadership continues throughout the recovery process. I know that this approval is going to really help not just the students, the staff, but the Paradise community as a whole. And with that, I'd like to move for approval.
Second.
Great, thank you very much. Any other, it's been moved and seconded, but I just want to make sure there's no other public comments, members of the board. I know that Assemblymember Gallagher wanted to be on to express his support. I don't see anyone else.
This is Assemblymember O'Donnell, just quickly.
Please, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure I can speak for Assemblymember Gallagher because we've talked about this situation many times. He's poked and prodded me to make sure we act on your behalf. And certainly the State Allocation Board, the OPSC staff has done a great job of doing that. So I want to certainly, again, as others have, acknowledged the hard work at the staff level, and certainly with the school district. I've been to Paradise before the tragedy, and I've been there a couple times after the tragedy. So, I've seen what happened, and it is impactful is an understatement. So with that, I will be supporting this. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Madam
Assemblymember Burke, please.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm along with my colleague, Assemblymember Patrick. I thank Barbara and Lisa for their hard work. I know this took a lot of work to figure out how to navigate these waters and to all the other funding resources that had to come into line so that we could make this opportunity possible. And, just like the Assembly member, I think I went to Paradise Ridge Elementary, and I did have an opportunity to see how important school was as a stable force in the middle of all of this tragedy, and how important school has been to those children. And I am sorry for what you all have been through, and I hope that being able to move these funds in a more expeditious manner just hopefully makes Christmas and the holidays and looking into 2022 in just a much more positive light. And super happy to support this. And very grateful to all the work everybody in Paradise has done to bring that community back to life. So thank you.
Anybody else? No. Great. Well, I love the vision as our schools being the souls of our community. I think that's so true. And I just thank you for sharing that with us. And thank you for being here to represent that. So with that, Ms. Jones, it's been moved by Mr. Morales, seconded by Senator Leyva. Will you call the roll, please?
I definitely will. Senator Leyva,
Aye.
Senator Roth,
Sorry, Senator, can you unmute and say aye?
Assemblymember O'Donnell.
Aye.
Roth, aye.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Assemblymember Cunningham,
Aye.
Assemblymember Burke,
Aye.
Juan Morales,
Aye.
Ana Lasso,
Aye.
Gail Miller.
Aye. That appeal is overwhelmingly and enthusiastically approved. Thank you again to Paradise Unified School District, truly for your service, for your resilience, and for teaching us a lot about how to be resilient ourselves. Thank you. And please stay in touch and send us pictures when it's complete. I would love to see it.
May I say something real quickly?
Please, please.
Again, I can't say thank you enough. And from the community, not just the district. Invite all of you to please come up and see what the outcome of this is.
Absolutely.
Please come.
We'd love to, sincerely. And please have your daughter call me, Mr. Taylor, because I just want to tell her like that. She actually taught us a lot today. So I would actually appreciate that opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. With that, I think we'll move Ms. Silverman to the Plumas Unified.
Yes, we actually have an action item today to present the district's facility hardship application for an apportionment. The district actually received reimbursement approval for the facility hardship project back on March 24th of this year. And so they're on the unfunded list. And at this time, the district has submitted all the certifications to compete in the fall bond sale. But as we know, they're being impacted as a result of the Dixie fire. And although it's 94% contained, it has burned nearly 1 million acres. And so their community is being impacted right now. And so they're asking for an advance apportionment today. And so if we can seek board approval for that for $2.1 million.
So moved.
Thank you. Moved by Senator Leyva. Seconded by Ms. Burke. Any public comment? No one from Plumas is on, right, Ms. Silverman?
No.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Ms. Jones, will you call the roll, please?
Yes, Senator Leyva,
Aye.
Senator Roth,
Aye.
Assemblymember O'Donnell,
Aye.
Assemblymember Cunningham,
Aye.
Assemblymember Burke,
Aye.
Juan Morales,
Aye.
Ana Lasso,
Aye.
Gail Miller.
Aye. The hardship application is approved. Thank you very much. I think we will now move to the emergency regulations of the appropriation of the $250 million. that all of you approved in the Budget Act. So Ms. Kampminer.
Yes, we have a very exciting puzzle to solve as part of this item today, because we did get the 250 million for the school facilities program from the general fund this year, which was a very welcome surprise. So this is exciting. But we have to figure out exactly how we put this cash to best use. It needs to be used by June 30, 2022. And what staff did, we reviewed this and looked at the statute and the current program, and the proposal we have before the board today fits this cash into the structure of the existing program so that we are kind of keeping it all in line there, and then providing the cash quickly to the first projects in line. So with that, as we've touched on earlier in this meeting, we do have apportionments coming before the board in October. For projects, we have basically taken those projects off the top of the list because they've already been addressed. They'll be getting their cash next month. So after accounting for that, we end up with a new batch of projects that could potentially use this 250 million in cash proceeds. And what we are recommending is that the board use the 250 million from the general fund for the first projects that are eligible for apportionments after the priority funding certification that occurs in November, December. So districts that have been receiving unfunded approvals beginning in June of this year through December of this year can certify and request priority funding apportionments. And those certifications are valid beginning January 1st of 2022. So we would be able to come before the board at the January meeting and bring the 250 million for apportionments using the general fund dollars. If the board is supportive of that, we do have a regulation change that is proposed so that we make sure that we do not leave any cash on the table that was potentially going to come from the bond sales. So we are expecting a spring bond sale, and the Budget Act each year approves a maximum amount of bond sales that can be sold. We don't want to leave any of that out there. We'd like to use it all up. We know that we will be able to process projects in February, March, potentially April, just depending on where the projects fall, that would be able to quickly use that spring bond sale cash if they were afforded the opportunity. But it does require a waiver of one small part of the priority funding regulations, because typically districts that are receiving that spring bond sale cash would be asking to participate in that process in November, December of this year. And just because of the timing on how we're working through the projects, we won't be able to process those additional projects early to try to get them to that time frame. So what the proposed regulations do, and they're very narrowly crafted, so this is specific just to funds that are not from typical bond sales. So the general fund, for example, or just unexpected funding, particularly that with time limits on it. So basically it would waive that priority funding certification period from November, December for this group. And for the districts that would be impacted, OPSC staff would reach out and invite them to participate at the time period in which they're getting their unfunded approval. So if I'm taking a district to February and we're expecting spring proceeds, we would ask the district, say, we expect cash, would you like a priority funding apportionment early in spring as opposed to fall of 2022? The district says yes, then they'd be put on that list. If they decide that they do not want to, there would not be a penalty. They would just follow the other regulations and go forward for the fall bond sale if that was their preference. We don't expect that we will not have enough takers for this. We think there's going to be a lot of folks that would actually like to receive their cash early. So that is what the regulations do. There's a chart on page 166 that shows kind of how that impacts each of the groups that submit the priority funding certifications. This maintains the date order received process of giving cash out to projects based on date order received. And the end result is that two groups of projects will be receiving cash sooner than they expected, which is good news. And then at the end of the day, the bond sale proceeds or the bond authority that's freed up by using the general fund money, we'll be able to apply that to future projects. So we're still going to be able to process more projects as a result of the additional 250 million in the general fund. So with that, we are seeking board approval for that process on how we are using the 250 million in general funds, and to adopt the regulatory amendments and authorize them to be filed on an emergency basis so that we can get this done quickly in time to make it available at the beginning of 2022, and then authorize the regulations to be made permanent for use in the future as well. And be happy to take any questions.
Sounds great, and I would move it.
Great, thank you, Senator. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Morales. Is there any public comment? Any questions? No. Okay. Seeing none, Ms. Jones, great job on this as well to the OPSC team. Will you take the roll, please?
Yes. Senator Leyva,
Aye.
Senator Roth,
Aye.
Assemblymember O'Donnell, Assemblymember Cunningham,
Aye.
Assemblymember Burke,
Aye.
Juan Morales,
Aye.
Ana Lasso,
Aye.
Gail Miller.
Aye. Mr. O'Donnell?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. The emergency regulations are approved and we look forward to seeing that as well. I think the last thing is just the projected workload, Ms. Silverman.
Yeah, the projected workload is available, and if you have any questions, we can answer them.
Great. Any questions? Do you have a question, Mr. Cunningham? Oh, no, maybe he was saying goodbye. No, any public comment? Anyone wishing to comment for any reason? Seeing none, huge thank you again, Ms. Silverman, to you and Ms. Kampreiner and your team, and we will see you in October. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a great day. Take care.
Take care. Nice to see everyone.